Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Social Saturday Chat Live. We are here with you. Today is Saturday, July 18th, unless you're in Australia, it's July 19th, 2026. And we are here for another wonderful part 2 topic with our wonderful guest here, Allan. And I'm going to check up your last name. I should ask you, is it Kleynhans?
Perfect.
Oh, all right. Perfect. I'll take that. And
Allan, perfect, Felipe.
Perfect. Thank you. So Allan was with us about 2 weeks ago and had such a wonderful session, and we got such great feedback that we invited him back for part 2. And we're going to be talking about who are we? So we're looking forward to that. Oh no, that's echoing. Allan. We were testing the audio in the beginning, and we had issues with headphones. But listen, for all of you that are joining us, please do me a favor. Go ahead and repost the room with your network. Let them know that we're going on live, because they're not going to want to miss this session. This is going to be one of those insightful sessions that are so valuable that, yeah, you can get it on the replay, but you won't be able to ask questions live. So reshare with your network, because your network isn't the same as ours. And if you're watching live, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know what city, what state, what country, and we will put the link in to join us on stage a little bit later to ask Allan questions one-on-one, or you can put it in the chat. But before we do that, we're going to do some quick introductions and share about what the topic of Who Am I means to us today. I'm just going to start only because I'm wearing this wonderful, colorful shirt today. And, we talk about fun facts. For those of you that don't like soccer, that's fine. Soccer is not my favorite sport. I will say that out loud, proudly. But Spain is one of my favorite countries. That's where I'm from. And they are in the World Cup playing against Argentina. Now, for all you Messi fans out there, I like Messi. I respect him. He's amazing. He's great. But they're going to lose tomorrow. So, with that being said, let us know, who are you rooting for, Spain or Argentina? And I won't hold it against you much. And so, with that being said, for those who have not met, my name is Felipe Cofino. I'm an HR exec for the last 25 years. I have been a LinkedIn enthusiast for many years. I am a LinkedIn top voice, and I take that seriously, because with that, I do shows like the Workplace Wellness Hour with Sumana Jetty, where we talk about workplace wellness in all different variations. We are on a summer break until September, though. And then every other Sunday, I do a show with good Lord, Melissa Houston for Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. And that is back next Sunday. We are off this Sunday. And that's another great show we do. And then, of course, every Saturday with this amazing team. And I would be remiss if I did not say that I am a published author, co-author, but also author for children's books. I did my first one, Miranda Max. The next one, Brady and Lucky the One-Eyed Cat, is coming out in a week and a half. I decided to have a lunch on my wife's birthday. I wanted to honor my wife a little bit about that. So it's coming out. People are asking about it. I do have an Instagram page that I have launched for Backyard Adventures. And the animals talk. There's a dad joke of the day. And remember, don't shame me when you see this, because they're meant for 2 to 5 year olds, okay? That's why I don't do it on LinkedIn. Because if I did dad jokes on LinkedIn, I don't think people would appreciate that. But who am I today? That's an amazing topic. I'm looking forward to Allan sharing his insight, because who am I? That's a question that sometimes we shy away from. Sometimes we put on a mask and pretend that, oh, well, let me be somebody who people expect me to be, or who people told me to be. I think you all can see sometimes that I'm me. I share who I am, but it took me a while to get to this point, and I'm still there are times where I'm feel maybe, I don't know, ashamed of showing a side of me that I shouldn't be. So I'm looking forward to this conversation because with AI nowadays, this is my one point I wanted to share is my fear is that people are using AI as even a more of a cover up to protect who they are to the outside world. That's my initial thought. With that, Martha, please introduce yourself. Tell us what your thoughts are about this topic, and then pass it to Matt, please.
Thank you so much, Felipe. Hello, friends. Welcome, everyone that's here with us in the audience. And thank you so much, Allan, for joining us on this Saturday. And for me, for friends that don't know me, I am a human being. Let me start off with that. I am a little under the weather today, but I'm here because each of you really, truly bring joy to me. Beyond being a human being, I'm a servant. I do run an organization called Connect Impact Hub, and where we're on a mission to end homelessness. And who am I, or who do you know? Who are you really? I'm a human being. I'm in this world. In my 40s, looking at where I'm going in life, and still, not perfect, but I'm finding my ways. I'm learning. I'm going to school, and and I'm getting off subject here really quick, but I'm gonna pass it over to Mac. I'm getting off subject. Here you go, brother.
Well, Martha, thank you for that intro. And it's easy for us to go off, as Felipe was saying just before we went live. I'm sitting out in the garden, and he was a bit concerned that if a squirrel came past, I'd lose attention. And that's something that, it's like a fun game or a TV show for my family to watch when they see me move around the house. And when I say I'm just going to go do this, and they'll ask me 5 minutes later, so did you do that? And I'm like, oh no, I did this, and this, and I still need to do this. But the joys of ADHD. But I'm really looking forward to this conversation today because I've known Allan for a long time. I've seen him speak, and I've also seen the impact that he's had when he's spoken to people because of the fact that he asks the questions that I think Felipe was talking about earlier that we try and really avoid, because we're not, most of us are not programmed to actually look internal and be introspective. And I was watching, I don't know if anybody remembers Dead Poets Society, but I watched that with my daughter yesterday. And about this young man who's got this aspiration and this dream of what he wants to be, but his dad has a totally different kind of vision for him. And when people ask you the question of who are you really, or without the really, but who are you? I've been a network strategist for decades now, and one of the common things is when somebody goes, so who are you? It's like, my name is, and this is what I do. And in today's day and age, when the average person spends about 18 months in any single position, that means they have multiple, situations, personalities. Who are we? But the real fundamentals that I'd love to get into and have Allan explore with us today is that when you strip everything else away, who are you? And many of you have heard me talk about that be, do, have concept. And, I can't think of anybody better to go into this conversation than Allan. So, Felipe, I'm going to pass the mic back to you, and then we'll get straight into this conversation and see where it goes.
Well, thank you, Mac. And I am just putting comments in there. Could you put the comments on the side, Mac, so we could see all the comments from everyone? Because we are live on LinkedIn, of course. We're live on YouTube. So if your phone is glitching or your computer is glitching on LinkedIn, you can jump on YouTube or vice versa. But this is, again, a topic I think we are all going to enjoy, because I think one of the things that's important to remember is when you sit with yourself, I know that sometimes we say, oh, I'm ADHD, I need some distractions. But if you have a hard time sitting with your own thoughts, that might be a flag to say, okay, maybe I need to work on that. But I just want to throw that on there. With that being said, before I hand it up to Allan, a quick reminder, if you're not following us on LinkedIn, give us our Social Saturday Chat page a follow and hit that little bell in the top right-hand corner just so that you get notified of all the events that we do, and not just on Saturday, but all the other co-host events. And then if you want to check out some of our past episodes, go to your favorite podcast and do a search for Social Saturday Chat. And you'll see some of the amazing topics we tackled, the phenomenal guests like Allan that we've interviewed, and the fun networking events where we met amazing people. So with that being said, I'm going to shut up for a little while, and I'm going to hand it over to Allan to tell us a little bit about this topic and share his wonderful insight. So Allan, over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Felipe. Thank you for the introduction, Mac. Appreciate your invitation to become back in part 2, and everyone who requested part 2 when we did the first part of this, which is a month ago, actually. Isn't that amazing? And gosh, this month has flown by, and that part 1 was so enjoyable that we found ourselves here again talking about an even more important subject. Well, probably, maybe not more important than men's health because it's all tied in, but just as important. And Martha, glad you could make it even though you're not feeling well. And I just wanted to shout out to those people who said where they're coming in from. We've got Nigeria and Africa. We've got New Jersey. And we've also got North Carolina. I was in North Carolina a couple of years ago. And so we've got people coming in from all over the world. And thank you for being here. Thanks for your time. And I'll make sure that I'm going to do my best to pour into you for the short time that we have together here. And this subject about who are you is one of the most important, if not the most important subject when it comes to consciousness, because, if you consider most adults are walking around with no idea of who they really are. They are walking around with labels, or they're walking around in a role, or they're walking around with the perception of who they are because it's been passed on to them when they were young. They were told who they are. They were told what their name was. They were told, what they, who they are and what they should follow and what they should believe. And we inherit beliefs. We inherit values from our parents. We inherit all the structures that are embedded in the environments that we grow up in. And it's no wonder that by the time we're 6 or 7, we've got all these beliefs about who we should be and how we should show up in the world, and more importantly, how we should keep ourselves safe. And then we continue with those structures and we continue with those programs into adulthood, and without really ever discovering who we really are. And then people, unfortunately, get to the end of their lives, and always at the end of their life when people are lying, on their deathbed, just about to pass, they always think, gosh, I wish I had explored more of what made me come alive. I wish I had explored more joy, more love, more compassion, more gratitude. Wish I'd spend more time with the people that I love, because we inherently understand that all of those things are energetic, and everything else that comes with the structures of the world and the programs that are passed on to us, those are all transactional. And those are teaching us that we have to be a certain way in order to recognize love, in order to receive love, in order to feel validated. We have to perform certain roles. And I said last time that we were here together, I said that, if you consider that when a child is born, if you consider where we come from, there's perspectives and perceptions about where we come from. However, if you study quantum physics, nobody can argue with the fact that we are energetic by nature. We are energy. And if you take any solid object, just like I said a month ago, and you look at it under a very high-powered microscope, what you will see that everything is 99.9% space. So if it doesn't exist under a high-powered microscope, it's not there. It's because those atoms, electrons, molecules, etc., are moving so quickly that you cannot see it, because it is energy in motion. And that's exactly what matter is. We come from somewhere and we materialize as these material objects. We are matter. We are energy in solid form. And then when we leave here, we return to somewhere. So while we are here, we should make sure that our lives matter as these beings of matter. And that's what life is really about, is understanding who we really are so that we can fulfill our potential, so that we can live into the highest part of ourselves. And if you consider, the origin of psychology, if you go back to the ancient Greeks, and really that's where psychology started. However, they called it a very different thing when they referred to your psyche, which is, if we refer to the psyche today, we refer to the way we think, our psyche, what makes up our mindset, how we think, how we process information. And that's really what we use the psyche for. Our psychology is about how we process the world around us through our 5 senses primarily. However, the ancient Greeks believed that psyche was first it was first known as Suke. Suke. And what Suke actually literally meant was the study of life, breath, and soul. And that's exactly what they originally started to study. That's what the ancient Greeks studied. And they also believed that every person when they're born, every child when they're born, as they're born, an elder comes in, an energetic elder comes in, and that is their genius. That's their higher state, their higher being, which is there to guide them, protect them, nurture them through their energetic experience as a human on this earth. So we are literally energetic beings having a human experience. And as it's been said by, Saint Pierre, hi, my friend. As it's been said by Saint Pierre, de Teilhard Chardin, I believe. I always wonder about the pronunciation of that name. But as it has been said by that great saint, said that, we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And it's a very temporary experience. So the greatest challenge we'd have as human beings, being human here, spiritual beings, is discovering who we really are. And the environments that we grow up in, as I said earlier, do not encourage us to do that. Nobody really encourages children these days to really explore who they are and to really continue to cultivate their imagination, because we put them into these systems very, very quickly on, and we start to program the imagination out of them, and we start to interfere with that connection that they have to source. When children show up here as energetic beings in a physical body, they inherently understand things. They are tuned in. Somebody's marks over that. And they are inherently tuned in, and they understand. And they feel it. They see things that adults cannot see. And children just literally describe things around them. What do adults do? They say, stop dreaming. Stop imagining things. And they really want to get people to encourage. It's not about encouraging. They really want to dissect that. They're not doing it through, malicious intent. They're just doing it because that's what they've been taught, and that's what the system is designed to do. It's designed to disconnect us from our inherent connection to source, which is always available to us. So when people say, who are you? That comes from two words, and you see that these two words were found in a cave in ancient times, thousands of years ago, and those two words said, know thyself. Know thyself. Socrates and Plato said exactly the same thing. Know thyself. What does that mean? Well, that means to inquire. Who am I? If I'm an energetic being, and if you read about quantum physics, you cannot deny that. You cannot argue with that. If you're an energetic being, then where are you coming from? You're coming from an energy source, and we are all plugged into the same energy source. And as I said last month, if you remember, if you were here with us last month, I spoke about the universal mind. The universal mind connects all things, and we are plugged into the universal mind. We get access to the universal mind at different levels, and we have this 3D experience as a human. And our job here is to understand how do we align as a 3D human, and then live more into a 5D experience, which is what the soul's experience. What the soul's really yearning for is to live from a much higher state of consciousness, where more love is expressed, more love is felt, more compassion, more understanding, more connection, a deeper sense of understanding that we are connected to everything around us, which is what the universal mind allows us to do, and what the universal mind literally is. In fact, it has been said that we are one soul. There's one universal soul, just like there's one universal mind, and we all have an individual hologram of that. There's all these individual souls, like there's a hub. And it's like looking at the London Eye. If you've been to London and you've seen the London Eye, or if you look at the hub of a wheel, a bicycle wheel, and you have all these spokes coming off it, right? At the end of each spoke, or at the end of each pod on the London Eye, if you're in one of those pods and you see someone else in another pod next to you on either side of you, and immediately your perception is that you're separate from them because there's distance between you. There's space between you. And that is what your perception tells you. And that's to some degree true. However, energetically, at the same time, as well as being spaced, 20 or 30 feet away from that other pod, and you in a different pod, energetically, there is a unified field that connects everything. And that is what the universal mind is. And our job is to understand how do we connect at those three different levels primarily, which is the conscious mind. And if you remember, if you were with us last month, and I said, when we're born with this beautiful, creative mind. This creative faculty, this ability to close your eyes and imagine something, create a picture in your mind. If it's your favorite car, or if it's perhaps you sitting in a convertible driving down the PCH, as I said last month, with the sea on your left, you're driving down the hill into Malibu. I've driven that road so many times I can remember it. But at the same time, you can also create a brand new picture if you closed your eyes. And I said to you, imagine a pink elephant with blue polka dots. And now imagine 3 or 4 mice dancing on the elephant's back. You can create that picture with your beautiful faculty that is called the imagination, the ability to image. It's the ability to create an image. And imagination is this beautiful ability. If you think about what the imagination really is, it's the ability to create an image and then to feed that image with your beautiful energy and to continue to see that and feed that with your beautiful energy until that image starts to create some structure and starts to gain some energy, starts to gain some matter. And that's how we literally manifest, how we literally turn the invisible into the visible, how we turn an idea into a tangible object, because we literally breathe matter into it. We're breathing energy into it over a period of time, and that solidifies and becomes real. And that's the capacity we have. That's the power we have. And we forget that because of the structures that are in place and that are designed to help us to figure it, because that's the world we live in. And at the same time, there's no accidents. We live in a divine dichotomy. It's a divine dichotomy where it's organized chaos. We are in a world of duality. At the same time, the oneness exists and connects everything. So when we say, who are you? When I encourage people to say, to ask themselves on a regular basis, who am I? Who am I behind the name? Who am I behind the role I've been given, the role that I'm playing? Who am I behind the label dad? Who am I behind the label director? Who am I behind the label husband, man, woman?
So, Allan, I have a question
son.
for you. And thank you for sharing, because again, you've laid out such a great foundation just to help us understand about just how big everything is and how easy it is to fall into that just trap of who am I? So let someone else tell me who I am. It's easier. But I have a question for you. My first question is this, and please feel free to put the questions in chat. We're going to invite you up shortly. If you could recommend one thing people could remove that prevents them from discovering who they are, what would that one thing be?
I think for me, it would be the belief of separation. Believing that we are separate. Believing that we are not connected to anything around us. And that's obviously the 3D perspective. I mean, that's the world we live in. We these energetic beings are materialized here. And, there's no accidents. As I said, this is a divine dichotomy. It's organized chaos. And as souls, we always choose to come here. And some of us have been here many, many times, and other of us are very new souls. And it doesn't really matter because, at the end of the day, we collaborate before we come here and we say, I'm going to go to Earth. It has been said by great sages and mystics that Earth is the toughest and hardest level of experience for 3D experience because it's offering the biggest lessons and the most painful lessons and the most brutal lessons. So we must remember that if we are energetic beings, we come here, then really this illusion of separation is what tricks us. We forget very quickly where we came from. As children, we remember for a short while, but as soon as we get into the systems, as soon as we start to learn language, as soon as we start to differentiate from our and become, form our own identity and start separating from the identity of the mother, which is what we connected to in the early parts of our lives, and we start learning about language, we start learning about fear, and we start learning about criticism. And as I said to you earlier, when we were born with this beautiful creative faculty, the imagination, and very, very quickly, this creative faculty becomes a critical. Becomes a critical environment inside our head through nurture. Beautiful, creative by nature, and critical through nurture. And that's where the challenge is, because now we start buying into the illusion of separation. It's me versus them. It's us versus them. It's there and here. It's up and down. It's hot and cold. Forgetting that you can't have hot without cold. You can't have up without down. You can't have there without here. It's perfect. And even if we look at the stars at night, I remember listening to Alan Watts, and it blew me away when I thought about it like that. And I thought, wow, it's so true. When you look up at the stars at night, you see the stars, but you forget that without the substance behind the stars, without the substance, the dark night sky, you wouldn't be able to see those stars. Those stars are being held by space, being held by the substance. So, it's the grounded being. Our grounded being is grounded in oneness. It has
I
to.
love that answer so much on so many different levels, and just the concept of that separation. I'm going to make the assumption here, correct me if I'm wrong, that people's fear of being separated is preventing them also, and it makes sense because when you think, oh, no one else is thinking or no one else is doing this, I can't do it, or it's not who I am. Well, why not? I think anything new that you discover, and I think that whole thing about what you were talking about, it's reminded me, be curious about who you are.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you're 10 years old or 94 years old. If you're alive, you still have time.
Absolutely.
I love that. So I have one question. I'm going to pass around the horn here to Mac and Martha to ask questions, and then we're going to invite some people up. So I want to go back to my original point that I made when we started the show. Talk to us about what can people do when they're trying to, whether they're, regardless of what stage they are at, figuring out who they are. What would you say to these people to be careful about when using AI? Seeing what you've seen so far, knowing that some people are maybe using it as a mask, some people are using it to create a persona that's not really who they really are because maybe they're feeling scared, maybe they're for whatever the reason. So what's your advice to those people, and what's some caution things they should be aware of?
Well, that's, gosh, I mean, we could go down a complete rabbit hole with that question for sure. I would say, as succinctly as possible, AI, like any technology and any tool that's based in technology, it is a tool, and we have to remember that a tool in our hands is really produces the result of the intention behind it. So, like any tool, we have to be careful how it's used. And when we see things online, obviously the biggest question now, is it real? And this is the biggest challenge, is that real means authentic. And I think, there's nothing that will ever surpass human connection. And I think that's what we're craving more than anything, because I think human beings recognize at a deeper level, without being conscious about it, is that we need to feel connected to people around us, to nature. We are nature, and technology threatens that. Technology separates us from that. So there are people that use technology, obviously, in order to hide themselves, in order to mask themselves. I mean, we know this online all the time. We see this, that happens all across, platforms, technology platforms, websites, and social media platforms. People create personas, they create avatars, etc. And that ties into a much deeper question that we covered briefly last month, which is about human needs, because we all have human needs, and those human needs have to be met. And if we are not conscious about it, we'll meet those needs in unhealthy, unconscious ways, in destructive ways, because we are deeply needing, those needs need to be met. And those needs are needs of connection, of love and connection, of significance, acknowledgement, certainty, variety. Those are the needs of the human body. So, people, unfortunately, because of the fact that, going back to what I said earlier, the environments that we grow up in, and environments create patterns, and all behavior is a pattern. And we have to remember that patterns can be interrupted. However, that patterns can run really, really deep, and they can be very difficult to interrupt them. But if you do engage in that conversation with yourself on a regular basis, and even spend time looking in the mirror and just looking into your own eyes. I remember I said this last month again, take 10 minutes. 10 minutes is not a long time. However, look into the mirror in your own eyes, left eye, for 5, 10, 15, 20 seconds, then the right eye. You'll soon start to see that 10 minutes will feel like a lifetime, because your critical mind will start kicking in, and you'll start noticing things you don't like about yourself, or it'll start deviating, because the mind, it just wants to, it seeks comfort, and it's always looking for that. And if you now interrupt that and you start to really try and see yourself, the mind is going to say, hang on a second, this feels really uncomfortable. So 10 minutes can feel like a lifetime if you're doing that. However, if you do that, and you take on that task and you just practice it over and over, and you just spend more and more time looking into the mirror and being aware of the fact that when you're judging yourself, and just dropping out of your head back into your heart and just being present, and just keep coming back to a state of presence, do that enough times, and you start to see something that you've never seen before. You'll start to see right into your own soul, and then you'll become very, really, it can blow you away, and you start to feel a sense of oneness and a sense of connection. And that really becomes really exciting, because then you start to really become more aware of your connection to the things.
Allan, I have a quick question, because I'm sorry, Felipe. As he was talking about looking in the eyes in the mirror, I was thinking about someone that recently lost their vision and their energy is so low. What can I share with them just from today? Like, how can I get them motivated? Right now we're dealing with depression because of the eyesight loss.
So they lost their ability to see, right?
Exactly. So, and they were so confident before, and now their energy is so low.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with people who have lost their sight, and I've worked with people who have lost their limbs. I've worked with veterans who have lost limbs at war, etc. And we must always remember that there's a much deeper capacity within us than we recognize on the surface level, and we have an infinite amount of ability, wisdom, energy, resourcefulness, and emotions are the most powerful resource we have. And so I would just share what I've experienced with some of my clients, especially around loss of vision. And I've met some really, really amazing people who have lost their sight and then turned that into a really powerful positive. And if you somebody who's lost their sight spends some time, some really real quality time with themselves and really engaging with their other senses, and over a period of time, and being grateful for what they still have available to them, the ability to hear, the ability to feel, the ability to speak, the ability to really connect. What those people tend to do is they tend to start developing an internal vision, the ability to see internally. And that's what we call insight, the ability to have sight inside, sight within. And you don't need to be able to see. You can close your eyes and still see inside. And when you tune into that deepest part of yourself and you start to tap into that deeper wisdom, you can have insight. And sometimes, people they don't have the ability to see. Some of those people have the deepest insight because they've developed that ability. So I would say for you and your person that you're working with, remember those feelings of emotion. It could be frustration, there could be rage, it could be anger. All those emotions are valid, and they have to be worked through so they can dissolve and evaporate. And then as they dissolve and evaporate, and they can only be dissolved by feeling. Healing only comes through feeling. We have to be able to feel and sit with the pain and sit with that emotion for as long as it takes for that to eventually lift and dissolve. And when it lifts and dissolves, what's underneath that is the next layer. And eventually what happens is what's left is acceptance, love. Because love is acceptance and acceptance is love. And if you take, if you look at the highest, if you're looking at a seesaw where you have right and wrong on either side, if you're sitting in right, then what happens is, you're making something else wrong. And, it's the vice versa. If you're sitting in wrong, then you're talking everything else is right except your side, right? And you're blaming yourself. But as you rise up higher and higher and higher, you come to a point, at the highest point, unconditional love is complete acceptance of what's showing up and trusting that life is still blessing you. Life still has gifts for you. That life still has opportunities for you, even though you may have lost one sense, your sight. I hope that helps.
That's simply brilliant, Allan. Arthur, that was a phenomenal question. I'm glad you brought that up because I hadn't even thought about that when you were speaking. Before I hand it over to Mac, I really appreciated what you said, Allan, because as you're talking, I'm one of those people that when I started seeing the value about taking care of your mental health in general, I started realizing I don't want to wait until something happens to start practicing it. And so when I would hear about things, and one of the things I've heard about that I was like, well, let me try this and see if it even makes a difference when I'm not feeling bad, was looking at yourself in the mirror. And I want to say it was a Mel Robbins thing I saw on social media. And she was saying all those things you say to yourself that people say to you, but you don't really believe because you feel uncomfortable when people give you that compliment. Say them to yourself in the mirror and stare yourself in the eye and keep on doing that. And it's amazing the power of believing yourself more the more you stare at yourself in that mirror. And the more you say those things, I got to tell you, I felt like I believed them a little bit more after doing that more and more. So it is something that it makes it feel awkward. But like you said, the more you do it. So I hope people are listening to what Allan's sharing because, again, I tried it and I'm like, wow. And that's before even Allan mentioned it. So I'm so glad that you shared that, because I think also is, it's again, before you need it, practice these things before, because when you need it, you have it in your toolbox ready to go. You don't need to go out to the store, pick the right one, come back home. Oh, it's not the right one. I hope that analogy worked there. But with that being said, go ahead, Allan.
And I just wanted to add something to that. I'm glad you reiterated and you stayed with that for a while. And, I can't overstate how important it is for you to really connect with yourself at the deepest level on a regular basis. I mean, just think about it from a parent's point of view, or just think about somebody you love if maybe you don't have children. Think about if there's somebody that you really love, someone who's been special in your life, maybe now or in the past. But just think about how much love you poured into that person. If I think about my children, how much love I poured into my children when they were born, and constantly to this day now, my son's 24, my daughter's 21. And whenever we're together, I want to hug them as much as I can, and I hug them as long as I can, and I hug them for 20 seconds at least, and I can feel them. Okay, Dad, that's enough. I say, come on, give me another 10 seconds, right? And I'm pouring my love into them. But just think about that. Why don't we give that to ourselves? Like, why have we forgotten to do that? And it's parents who are awake to that kind of stuff who teach that to their children and say, you know what, it's healthy to really love on yourself. It's healthy to look in the mirror and say, hey, I see you there. I appreciate you. I love your smile. I love the way you made that person feel today. I love how kind you were to that old lady crossing the street. I love how you remember that person's name. I love how you smiled at that child. Those are the things we should be doing for ourselves on a regular basis, because like anything, emotions are muscles. And if we don't actually build that muscle, the emotion, if we don't build the practice of feeling love, if we don't build the practice of feeling compassionate, if we don't build the practice of feeling patient and tolerant with ourselves, if we don't build the practice of forgiving ourselves for making mistakes, for forgetting sometimes, for being stuck in a 3D perspective, for letting the ego get in the way, it's important to forgive ourselves on a continuous basis every single day for those stuff, for those kinds of things. And look in the mirror, and spend time. And when you look in the mirror, I can't overstate this. If you do this every day for 3 to 5 minutes, just after you've brushed your teeth, and you just really be with yourself. And remember, as you look into your own eyes, try and see the little boy in your heart. Try and see the little girl in your heart, that innocent little child that came into this earth, from a place of unconditional love, from energy, and now suddenly you're in a human body, and suddenly you're being pulled out of your mother's tummy or your mother's vagina, you're being smacked on the bum, right? And there's bright lights and loud noises, and you're thinking, oh my God, where the fuck am I, right? And it's like, wow, what happened, right? I was feeling so comfortable and I was so safe, and now bang, right? You're in the 3D perspective. So we have to remember that, and we have to be compassionate with ourselves, because we make up these stories and we get stuck in this 3D perspective, and we pick up other people's stories, and when we start to forget who we really are. And so that's why it's important. You got to take time to spend with yourself. Self-love is really loving on yourself so that your own emotional reserves build up. And it's like putting money into, or putting emotions into an emotional bank account. When the time comes and you got to love on someone else, you've got plenty left. You've got plenty there because you've been doing it for yourself. You've been building your own reserves. Yeah,
if we're actually compassionate to ourselves as compassionate we were to other people, we'd be much happier probably. So I love that you shared that. Practice, talk to yourself positively in the mirror. We talked about mantras last month. I say that little 5-word mantra to myself, and in the mirror, that's one of the things I say to myself, because I want to remind myself that I am those things. So Mac, over to you, my friend. And I hope that no squirrels come by and bite you.
I tell you, there's been so much. And I'm quite a visual person. So just listening to all the things that you've been covering, and, I always think about when people ask that question about who are you, it's not what do you do, what keeps you busy, what are your hobbies, like it's not, but as humans, we've been we've learned these habits of how we respond. And it's like when you walk into the office and you see somebody and you go, hey, how are you? You don't really mean that. You're doing it out of like learned habits. And then when they turn around and go, oh, I'm having a bad day, and you're like, oh shit, they've actually answered me now, and I've got shit to do. I wasn't really wanting the answer. And it's the same thing about, who are we? And what I was picturing is like a Mona Lisa type painting that when you sit there, like Allan says, and you stare in the mirror, and then all of a sudden you start realizing that it has layers and layers and layers of the things that have been added to the original, that you don't recognize the original anymore, and it becomes something else. It becomes a different story and a different interpretation, and it takes time, to sit there and focus and remove, like you say, become childlike again, to remove those layers and go, actually, this is what somebody else added to the like, this part of the picture is not me. That's what somebody else interpreted, told me, and I added it to the picture. And actually, this picture is so multi-dimensional and layered that you've got to strip things back to get to that original of, who are you really? And I think very few people in life actually can answer that question, Allan. And that mirror exercise, I know Lucia has been waiting in the background. I'm going to add her to stage in a second to come and ask questions, or add her perspective. But I'd love you to, because we're all so busy. There's stuff happening. There's AI. There's work. Then there's financial stuff that everybody's got stuff, and that healthy ability to be present in the moment. What can people do on a daily basis just to step away? That mirror thing, yes, 100%. But I know you do lots of other things that really about centering as well. If you had 2 or 3 basic tips to give to people to strip away those layers and be present, what would they be?
Yeah. All right, cool. First of all, I just want to say I love what you said about, looking at a painting and there's so many layers and you forget, you just don't see the original anymore. And it's exactly when we look in the mirror, we don't see ourselves. We see the stories we've been told about ourselves as kids, or that we've picked up unconsciously. And we don't see the original. And if we practice, that's what practice does. It allows you to eventually see the original. And then that original is awe-inspiring. It blows your mind. And you suddenly realize, wow, I'm a beautiful being. And I think to answer your question about what else you can do, I think it's so important just to take time, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes a day, just to sit quietly and just breathe and just focus on your breath and just really allow yourself to feel what your body's doing, feel into your body, and to notice, the thoughts that are going through your mind, and to continuously keep bringing yourself back to your breath and back to your body. And that's that's a muscle you can build, the ability to sit quietly and be present, and to just feel and to hear all the sounds around you outside of your mind, and just to notice what you can notice in your field with your eyes closed. And obviously you will be aware of your thoughts, but then not getting hooked by your thoughts, just noticing and becoming the observer of your thoughts, observing yourself thinking. And that's going to take practice. However, if you just start small, 5 to 10 minutes a day, just sitting quietly, begin by focusing on your breath, focusing on your in-breath, your out-breath. There are certain breathing exercises you can do to get yourself in the body. You can do breath of fire, which will get you in your body. And then just bringing your attention to your heartbeat, and then into your body, noticing where you tense, and then slowly but surely starting to expand your level of awareness, or your center of awareness, until you get more and more aware of what's around you. And that really helps people to develop presence. And like anything, it's a practice. It's these things. They're easy not to do, and they're easy to do. So just do them. Even if you start small, 3 to 5 minutes, and you just build that up. And I think that is a state of meditation, and that is the ability to get underneath your thoughts. Meditating doesn't mean you stop thinking. What it means is you get underneath the thoughts, and you observe the thoughts, and you're in your body, and you tap into that innate center of yourself, where there's a center where your soul is, just here around your heart area, your soul. And then there is an innate sense of peace that exists inside of you. It's infinite peace. It's there, and you just have to keep bringing yourself back to that until eventually you can drop in there quite easily and often. And you can do it whenever you need to. And that really helps us to make better decisions when we come from that place. Presence, coming at, dropping to a state of peace, dropping into your heart. It's much better to make a decision from that place, because it's usually led by your intuition rather than your ego mind.
Love that. That was great. Thank you, Allan. Lucia, thank you for being so patient. And I just want to remind everyone, we are just about 10 minutes away towards the end of the show. So the link is in the chat. Come on up. I don't know if I haven't seen the chat. Mac, maybe you want to put it again in the chat for one last chance. But this is your last chance to come up, to talk to Allan, and ask your questions and share your insight. And a quick reminder, follow us on our homepage on LinkedIn and hit that little bell so you get notified. And you can check out our past episodes on your favorite podcast. With that, Lucia, thank you for being so patient. What questions or insights or comments do you have about this discussion, or for Dr. Allan? I don't know why I called you Dr. Allan, but it just felt good.
First, I want to give a little quick what my POV is on this subject. As you can see from my headline, I'm more woohoo than woo-woo.
I love that.
I love a woo-woo. I'm actually a Stoic Buddhist, so I got a little woo-woo on the side. My POV in this chat is to tell you that I did chemo from September to June, and I lost my morning chant. I lost my relentless gratitude because I was in constant physical pain. And it's very easy to slide out of habits that I had for frickin' years. So it's a very tricky thing when we are undermined by the betrayal of our body, which feeds our psyche and our biochemistry. My question is entirely about being in service to others, particularly in business. So I want to ask from a very practical sense. I'm actually going to read the question because I rewrote it 4 times. Hello, ADHD. In differentiation, when it's been high risk, both personally, professionally, socially, in our subcultures are the ones that really censor us and tell us to tone it down or to be bigger or whatever. How do we overcome all of those speed bumps, personal, domestic, professional, etc., to be brave in our differentiation and step over those speed bumps of past baggage bullshit and really just get into the day, which is what I lost when I was so ill, is I forgot how to get into my freaking day. So I, of course, as a speaker trainer and a spokesperson trainer, I'm always trying to help people get brave. And every day they bring their baggage in the room and I have to tell them to pick it up, take it outside. So some really practical, applicable 1, 2, 3, because, you know, you're a magician, Allan, I can tell. What's your advice for just tripping over that stuff when it...
Well, let me ask you a question first. What do you believe it is to be brave?
Doing it when it's hard is brave. Doing it when it's unpredictable is brave. And that for me is the big one with myself and my clients, because I'm not I'm big on change, but I'm not loving it all the time. So brave for me is doing it when it's unpredictable. Hard is a given. So unpredictable is kind of where most of us live.
Well, life is unpredictable continuously.
Exactly.
No,
we still have to be brave, though.
There's no certainty to life. In fact, that's the only thing you can put money on, is that things will change, and they continue to change faster than ever before. Life is full of unpredictability. And, I think brave is just... Being brave means being yourself, being yourself in spite of what other people have told you what you should do and who you should be. You talk about having chemo, and I'm sorry you're going through that. My heart goes out to you, and I'm sending you love. And I've lost a lot of friends to cancer, and I have a lot of friends who are dealing with it right now. And it's what I say the same thing I always say to people, is that obviously, you said something very powerful. You said your body's betrayed you. I wouldn't agree with that. And suddenly I've got Mac on the screen. Is that right? There we go. I wouldn't say that your body's betrayed you. I wouldn't say that. I would say that your body is doing exactly what it knows to do right now. Your body knows exactly what it needs to do. Your body is healing. Your body is always trying to heal itself. What gets in the way are the beliefs. And so to come back to your question, the answer to that question, in my opinion, is you have to explore what beliefs you carry that prevent you from being yourself, or prevent you from being brave, or prevent you from showing up authentically, or prevent you from following your own bliss, or prevent you from, being happy regardless, and being happy without needing a reason. And again, coming back to your own challenge with health, I would say, remember that your body has innate wisdom, wisdom that, we haven't been able to even understand yet, even in this this amazing age of technology, with everything that we've created. We still don't even understand their body's ability to naturally heal. And all we have to do is get out of our way. And how do we do that? We look at the beliefs that we are carrying that are causing us to separate from ourselves. If you think about it, dis-ease becomes disease in the body, dis-ease of the mind. And what is dis-ease of the mind? It's separating from yourself. It's buying into a false assumption about yourself. It's buying into a false identity, buying into a false belief system that forms a false identity to the point where suddenly you believe something that's not true. I came across a powerful phrase many, many years ago, and I've never forgotten it. It's one of my favorite phrases. It's not who you are that holds you back. It's who you think you're not. Think about that. Think about that. It's not who you are that's holding you back. It's who you think you're not. And we are constantly walking around with these bullshit belief systems, these BSs, these belief systems, these rules, as it's been called, bullshit rules, these rules about what we believe we need to do in order to get things right, in order to be perfect, in order to be loved, in order to be accepted, in order to be enough, in order to be worthy, in order to be validated, in order to, to achieve, etc. And in the process of that, we forget who we are. And we, this beautiful soul that is yearning for freedom of self-expression. And that's what brave is in my mind, in my world. Being brave is answering your heart's yearning, your soul's yearning for freedom of self-expression.
I love that. It's not afraid of who you are, it's who you're not. That was like
I wrote that down. I had to write that down.
I'll put that in the chat. Yeah, Lucia, if you said you were down, could you put it in chat for everyone so that people can benefit?
I will. I do want to say one thing.
All right, we are short on time, so make it quick.
I'll be 15 seconds. I just want to say that there are a lot of complex paths to being in the now. And I'm always searching for sort of an easier, quicker, more practical, applicable route to the now. I'm going to type in what he said now. Thank you for the stage. Thank you for the microphone.
Thank you for the great question,
Lucia. Let me say one more thing about that. You can get into the now like that. Yeah. Whenever you feel it's complex to get into the now, just put your hand on your heart or both hands and close your eyes, take a deep breath and just say, am I willing to let it go? Whatever you're holding on to in your mind. Am I willing to let it go right now? Am I willing to let it go?
Beautiful.
And then come back to your breath.
All right. This was like such an amazing moment we had. Lucia, first of all, thank you for sharing and being so
thank you.
That was an amazing thing. And please remember that we are here with you during your journey, whatever stage you're at. Don't forget that we're here for you, because I applaud what you've gone through, and I just want you to keep on finding that inner strength that you have, because it's amazing. And I just love the question you asked, because I think there's a lot of people in this same boat that are feeling the same way. All right, Joe, you know what I'm going to ask you.
Thank you, Lucia.
Joe, over to you. Keep it short. We're at the end of the show. Over to you.
We still got a little bit of time.
How's that for short? Hi.
How you doing, Joe?
Well, it seems like you and I actually match in energies, practice, discipline, and lifestyle.
Beautiful. I love it.
Because the fact that actually a lot of what you stated, I've been practicing over 30 years.
Nice, my man. And where are you based, Joe?
When you, Florida, where the fun is.
I love it. I love Florida. Which part? Which part of Florida?
West Central.
West Central. Nice.
Tampa itself.
Tampa.
And actually, I have been practicing the meditative direction you've mentioned. Sounds like you've experienced in the past, which I shall be brief on this, because I experienced prior to my birth. If that actually matches in your mentality. I experienced darkness, color, bright light. And I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah.
The bright light was actually when it finally came out of my mother.
Yeah.
So having that actual experience, that encounter, let me know that I was still connected with, in a sense, the divine. Mm-hmm. I argued with the divine before I came on, but I'd made the proper choice of the right couple because of her love.
Yeah, I can believe that.
I think you probably have heard similar story of that type.
I believe that. I've heard similar stories and I had the same experience myself, actually. And we choose our parents, and our parents choose us. It's a collaboration of all souls involved. That's why there's no accidents. You chose all your family members. If people say all the time, I didn't choose my parents. Gosh, and my mother's a crazy, my father's crazy. I wish I didn't have these parents. And I say, well, you know what? Your soul chose that for a reason, because that's why you've come here. That's what you've come to heal. That's what you've come to remember. And in doing that, you do that healing for the collective. So not only for yourself. So I'm totally with you, Joe.
That's cool, because the fact that actually I have been a lot more sensitive in the last 10 years with my energies, to be extremely selective. That's what I can describe it. Who's in my inner circle of trust. And it's only because the fact of lower energies I reject. Higher energies I accept, and those who actually are still developing, I bring them in as well. But it gets a bit complex, but at the same time simplistic, because divine keeps telling me yes, no, maybe.
Yeah. And maybe it's not a case of you rejecting those energies that don't align with you. It's just not alignment. You just don't align with them. So you align with energies that are vibrating at your same frequency. And you don't align with energies that don't vibrate your frequency, and that's okay. It's not a judgment, and it's not a rejection. It's just the way it is.
Never has been. But thank you. You actually gave a good speech, and actually I did reach out to you already. Namaste to you in every direction you've actually taken. Let's connect.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Joe. I appreciate it, man. I'll look for your message. Did you do it on LinkedIn, did you?
Yes.
Nice one. I'll look for that. Thanks, Joe. Stay blessed, my man.
Thank you, Joe, for sharing that. That was awesome. I love how this conversation has gone from so many different levels of just experience, knowledge, spirituality, just knowledge of self. I hope people took away something of value. Share in the comments what was your one takeaway that you took, because I really think that other people will benefit from this. Everyone's at a different stage of their life. And I love what you said about matching the energies. And this is such a topic for another show, but I'd be curious, and we'll write it down for future. But food for thought is people who are introverted, extroverted, having that discussion of their energies. Because I feel like when I'm in that, people think I'm fully extroverted. I have a lot of introvert. I need to recharge, but I recharge with other people sometimes. I don't always have to recharge by myself, but sometimes I do. And I'm just curious about how we match those energies with other people at those right stages when we need them. So topic for a whole different discussion, because I feel like we could open up that can of worms and a lot of worms would fly out.
Well, Felipe, I want to add to that very quickly. You said something very important there. You said, it depends who you're with. And I think, again, it's labels. We have to be so careful of labels. And Lucia said the same thing about ADHD. These days, everybody's got ADHD because these phones distract us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we are not designed to absorb as much information as we do through these phones. And that's why I don't look at my phone for long periods of time. I'll only look at my phone when I need to look at something, when I'm expecting a message, etc. But I don't look at my phone for long periods because I'm aware of the fact that this is a distraction, and that creates a mind that's always bouncing all the time rather than being present in the moment, slowing down. So coming back to what you're saying about introvert and extrovert, again, those are labels. A lot of people who think they're introverted are extrovert with people that they feel safe with, right? And people are introverted with people that they do not feel safe with, because they don't feel they have the ability to let their true nature out, because they have fear of how it'll be received, which is then deemed as being introverted. Oh, they're very quiet. They're very reserved. It's only because they're not feeling safe. When we feel safe and our little child comes out, we go crazy, right? And we always do that with people that we love the most, because we know we can be free with them because we feel safe with them. So yeah, that's an interesting subject. Absolutely.
And that's interesting. When I think of introvert, I think of it's just quiet time. Like I have a friend who calls me who's just, I know they're going to want to talk about a lot of stuff and they're energized. I'm like, this present time, I'm in a relaxed mode. I want to stay in that relaxed mode. So I'm not going to be able to match their energy. So I'm going to defer that to later on, not reject it, anything like that. It's just, I'm not in that mindset presently, and I don't want to disrupt that mindset.
Yeah.
But I love this labels. Okay. So before I forget, can you please share about what you have coming up with everyone? I think you have a private event coming up after this that you want to share about.
Yeah, we spoke about this a month ago. Thank you, Felipe. I appreciate that. But we spoke about this a month ago on the first session. And we've agreed that we're going to do a masterclass. And Mac, I think Mac, you have the link, but I'll send you the link again. And I mean, we could probably put the link in here. I don't know if you want me to just send it to you, bud, or should I just put the link in here? I don't know. I'll have to
put it in here. Put it in here. Yeah, just drop it in here.
Let me find it quickly because I did.
While he's doing that, he did another class after the last session last month, and I got to tell you, if you missed it, you missed out, because that was really a full conversation. It wasn't a show where you only heard certain people. You were involved and engaged. So I highly recommend that you all look at the opportunity to do this, because Allan, most people pay a lot of money to be able to get time with Allan. And so it's just, and I think you all have gotten a taste of how valuable his knowledge is. So I hope you all take this seriously if you find it valuable. But any last words, Allan?
Thank you, Felipe. I really appreciate you saying that, buddy. What I'm doing is I'm getting the link. I'll get the link in a second. I'm just logging in here. I'll get it. But any last words from me? I just want to say thank you for the invitation to come back again. Thank you if you were here. Thank you for your attention. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took some nuggets. I hope you, more importantly, I hope you take at least one thing, just one thing, and just apply it. Begin to apply it, whatever resonated for you. And if you came in from different parts of the world, I'm really grateful, because I know that the time zones are very different for all of us on this call. So again, thank you for having me back here again. And yeah, it's been wonderful. I've loved it. So
well, thank you for taking time with us. We so appreciate you. Mac, what do you have coming up, and any last thoughts about this amazing session with Allan?
Well, I've literally just found the link, Allan.
You have?
So I've dropped it in. So there is a private event, and it's massively discounted because Allan's doing us a favor. But he also wants to just carry it. He always just adds value wherever he goes. So I've dropped it into the comments. If you can go and have a look, it is I think it's a Stripe link, which basically gives you access to the event to go and register and get access to that. It's not something that's going to be recorded or restreamed or anything like that. And as Felipe was saying, the last session that we did was also was a private session, wasn't recorded, because and I love what Allan was just saying about that introvert versus extrovert, that safe space, and it's not something that because we live in this world with all this noise and scams and everybody having their own agenda. Very seldomly do we feel safe enough to be able to express exactly who we are, how we are actually feeling, versus how we want the world to see we are coping. All I want to do is just really urge people to go and click on that link, make it happen, send it to somebody else where they have the opportunity, because it's such a rare opportunity. Like Allan was saying now, with the fact that our mobile phones, the amount of information we receive on such a regular basis, and it's not just our mobiles, it's the mobile, it's the television, it's the laptop, it's the freaking Alexa, it's like it's just so much. To actually have the opportunity to really just look internally. And it's interesting what you were saying earlier again, and I'm sorry I'm taking a little bit of extra time here, but I really want to kind of bring it home about, you were talking about the 3-minute exercises or the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes. And the reality is sometimes life is literally that simple, but it's easier to go and watch a series of something that takes 6 hours or 10 hours or 24 hours of your time than actually invest those 3 minutes or 5 minutes in yourself. And it's scary how we will prioritize anything and everything but ourselves.
Yeah.
And yet in the back of our mind, we all have these hopes and dreams and aspirations that we literally are putting on the shelf to gather dust unless we're willing to take these little steps and actions. So, Allan, I just want to massively thank you for the time that you have taken to be with us and invest over here, because it's not like Felipe was saying, it's not on a regular opportunity that we get the opportunity to actually spend time with somebody who's trying to help us and help us really focus on internally who we are to take that next step. Because, you know, for me, you know, who are you question comes around the human service, the helping others, improving the world around me. But it took me years to get to scrape all the other stuff away that was just noise. Because if you go and look at people's headlines on LinkedIn, very quickly you can tell whether they really know who they are or whether they've created a wonderful facade of something that sounds spectacular, but they don't believe it themselves.
Yes.
So yeah, that's what I want to say. I'm going to go and share this link on the Social Saturday Chat company page as well as an individual post for those who want to go and register. When did you say it was, Alan? Was it the 23rd?
I believe it is. Yeah, let me just check in the calendar. And also, I can't actually, for some reason, I can't join the chat. So I'm glad you've got the link, because I can't post it. But yes, we agreed that it's going to be the 23rd of July. So that is next Thursday evening.
All right, Mac, you're on mute again.
I'm not on mute, but
I thought you were. My bad.
I was just trying to keep quiet for a second. I mean, I know it's a rare thing.
And just, I'd like to say one last thing to everybody who put in the comments and everybody who put in the chat, all your beautiful comments. So thank you very much. I appreciate your love. I saw them, and I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Well, thank you again. Copper apparently thanks you. He just won't get off of me. So
Copper.
Thank you again.
I
appreciate it. And Martha, I know you were a little bit under the weather, but do you have any last words you want to share or anything you have coming up?
I just want to tell Allan, thank you very much for sharing. I'm going away with takeaways, some really great questions Lucia asked. I've been reading the comments in the chat. Joe put some really good comments in there as well about the inner child. Tapping in, just not forgetting, we are human beings. So I don't have much to say today, but I just want to thank you, Allan, again. Every time you speak, it's very warm. It's like we're all getting a hug and love. It's just pouring out of you. It's very contagious in positive ways. So I really want to sincerely thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha. Even though you didn't say a lot by your own admission, your presence was felt, your energy was felt. So thank you for being here.
Well, listen, thank you, Copper, excuse me. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. We really appreciate this, Allan, and I hope anyone who watches the replay, put your comments in there because we're going to do our best to reply back to you all. And as far as what I have coming up, yes, I'm going to take him out for a walk probably because, calm down, because we've had the smoke from the Canadian wildfires coming down. I got to tell you, yesterday, you could see it. I have pictures of it, but my throat was burning. My eyes were burning. It was really bad. So I hope everyone's staying safe out there. And as far as what I have coming up, I do have Careers Casting Coaching next Sunday with Melissa Houston at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then I'm back on Saturday with this amazing crew for another Social Saturday Chat. Is it our monthly networking or do we have one more after that? We'll see. The last one of the month is always monthly networking. You all know that. And so
networking next.
Okay. And Copper says bye. And as a reminder, don't forget to go ahead and follow us on LinkedIn and click that little bell and check us out on YouTube as well. With that being said, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their Saturday. Viva España for any of the footballers, soccer players out there. May Spain beat Argentina. And with that being said, have a great Saturday, everyone. Take care and be safe.
I gave not till tomorrow, guys, and Sundays, so you know, in case you're thinking it's today, it's tomorrow.
Amazing, folks.
Thank you, guys. Namaste to all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Have a great
Thank
weekend,
you, everybody.
everyone.
Have a great weekend.